Hey, what's good, everyone? This is V Marie, also known as your girl V92. I just wanted to come to you guys with another video. This is going to be part 2 of the Why Black Women Shun Them production. Okay, I made a part 2 because I wanted to discuss the misconception of the message that people got from me. They misconstrued everything that I basically was trying to say in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a couple of comments I'm going to respond to. And I am going to actually show a video that maybe if you hear it from somebody else as well, because I'm not the only Black woman who feels this way, maybe you guys can get a better understanding. So number one, Vince Rashad actually made a response to me. I've watched a little bit, but I haven't really gotten a chance to search through the whole video to break it down. But I'm gonna read your comment. Vince Rashad says, I could be wrong, but it seems that you don't like to be challenged or questioned. Maybe I read you wrong. But I understand not being mentally stimulated by someone is a turnoff for sure. In order for many Black BMS to overcome chips in society stacked against them, they have to be very meticulous, not for nonsense, and determined. Such a guy has had to push away much bad influence to get to where he is, and it may take years for him to lighten up. On the other hand, street niggas benefit from not doing too much of anything but socializing with others and has that X card, but being too good for a guy with hella mouth peace brings in multiple opportunities for sex. That's the 3 baby mammies. Trina would probably be a funner date than Oprah also, but Harpo would be more secure and not leave me struggling unless I choose to struggle over a potential legacy. Just my 2 cents. Okay, that's his comment. I'm gonna read some more comments that kind of shell off that one. It kind of reflects off that one. Rebecca Smith made a good comment as well. Here's another one. Haterazzi1. He left a comment that kind of a lot of Black men are kind of getting this through their head. Most intelligent people come off as arrogant, not just Black men. It is very painful being in the presence of someone who lacks substance in their goals and conversation. I never knew Black women felt this way, but then again, this may explain the infamous 70% single mother syndrome in the Black community. Here's another one that kind of shines off that one. Rude Boy says, I guess that's why a lot of Black guys dumb down so they can be interesting to Black women. Intelligence is frowned down upon the Black community. I feel you're always going to come off arrogant to people with less knowledge. People misinterpret education, them as being a know-it-all or arrogant. What they must realize is to let ignorant be as they are. Otherwise, you're an asshole. Now, with that one, I'm going to respond to Rude Boy and Haterazzi1. I'm not telling Black men to dumb themselves down. Me, I like an intelligent conversation as the next person. I love conversations that can stimulate my mind. I love going deep into certain subjects that a lot of people might not give a fuck about in the long run. But when you're trying to get to know somebody on a date, here's the problem that I have with a lot of educated Black men. They're not really talking to you as a person. They're talking down to you as if they're doing you a favor. And that's where that arrogance comes in. That's where that cockiness comes in. And I don't like men who are arrogant, nor do I like men who are cocky. So maybe that might rub me the wrong way. As if, okay, it's cool to be intelligent, but lighten up. You know what I mean? Fucking relax. You can have a conversation with somebody without being so technical and being as if you have a chip on your shoulder because maybe you're trying to cover up something else. That's what I don't like a lot about educated Black men. But there's a YouTuber by the name of You Heard Me First Time, And she also goes into this into depth. She calls it the Kanye West syndrome. I'm going to actually play this really quick and I'll be right back. Check it out.
Hello, jackadoodle, 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 jackadoodle. Yeah, remember that video? Anyway, I'm going to respond to them their allegations that you made against me, even though I done already done it, but I guess you want me to put it in a video. Alright, that's enough introduction. I'm going to get right into it. I'm using Sergeant Willie Pete to take shots at upper echelon young black men. And it's because I'm bitter. So you say. Alright, I'm getting a bit ill of that one because, like I said before, when I make videos about black women, it's clap, 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 clap. But the minute I say something about black men, all of a sudden I'm bitter. First of all, if I talk about my past experiences and they're negative, that's not bitter. I'm just talking about what happened. I have dated women repeatedly. Did I just say dated? I meant debated women repeatedly, and I find that they tend not to be as good at it as men. That doesn't mean that men are great, but they're better than women, I find. Alright, based on that, you could make the argument that I'm bitter that women keep beating me in debates or something like that. Even some of the women on that video were saying, oh, you hate being a black woman, or you just want to hurt black women's feelings. But really, what logical reason would I have for doing that? I am a black woman. I know how it feels to be one. But anyway, not the point. Back to black guys. I've said this before, but I was dating a lot of non-black guys, and right around the time I started debating the white nationalists, that started kind of bothering me. And by the way, I learned a lot of things about race that I didn't even know when I debated them. Whether it was stuff that I looked up myself or stuff that they told me and then I looked it up to see if it was true, whatnot. And I was thinking, since certain things are genetic, such as intelligence and whatnot, then I should contribute my genes to the black gene pool. But besides even that, we need more black people born into the middle class. So I started kind of feeling like if I marry a white guy or some other race of guy, then I don't want to say it's like a waste, but I just didn't feel quite right about it at the time. That was the point where I decided that I was going to try to concentrate more on my relationships with black guys. But it was also at that point that I realized that I was getting hit on by, white doctors, Jewish doctors, Asian engineers and stuff like that, but hadn't really been hit on by any black guys of that same caliber. Again, not saying they don't exist, I'm just saying they didn't hit on me. And again, I'll say that I'm not saying that every single guy I dated was a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Most of them were around my level, but a little bit higher than me. It was always my dream, if you will, to marry an upper echelon man and be able to stay at home with my kids. I wanted the option not to have to work. I like it the way it was back in my grandmother's day when women didn't work outside the home. And I'm not saying that was necessarily true for black women, but just in general. But anyway, I've also said that I prefer older men. But I found that when it comes to black men, the upper echelon ones that are older have been taken for many, many years. And they usually have wives who are their own age and probably have kids who are my age. And also, like I said before, the ones who were single for a reason. There was something wrong with them. Not to mention that there's just not going to be a whole lot of them because that's right around the age where they kind of start dying. So anyway, my best option for an upper echelon black guy was guys around my age. One thing that I really can't stand, and you can call this my pet peeve if you like. I can't stand when people act like they're better than me, especially if they're not. And for those of you out there saying, well, nobody's better than anybody. Right, in kindergarten. In real life, some people are better than others. And let me just clear that up. I said I can't stand when people act like they're better than me and they're not, but even if they are, I still don't like if they act like it. Now, don't get it twisted. I have gone out with non-black guys, especially white guys, who acted like they were doing me a favor going out with me. But it happened a lot more often with these young black guys than any other race. And Jack, I said it, I meant it, and I'm standing by it. That will not be taken back. And you can call me bitter, lonely, jealous of white women, all you want. That doesn't change the fact that those were the most smug men I've ever been out with. I didn't tolerate the I'm better than you attitude from the white guys, but on a certain level, I'm kind of used to white people thinking they're better than me because I'm black. But to get that from a black guy, it's like, whoa, dude, what the fuck is your problem? And just in case you're going to say, well, you never mentioned this before, go back and watch my Where the Best Are Going video. It's one of the first videos I made when I came back to YouTube, and I'm talking about the same stuff. They have this mentality since there are a lot of women after them these days, and it's the truth. There's a lot of women after black guys these days, whether they're upper echelon or not. But anyway, they have this attitude that since there are so many women after them, that they are doing me a favor by giving me their time. And you're probably going to ask, well, did they say that? Not necessarily directly, but they drop these little hints. But then they'll also be like, since they think they're doing you a favor, any disagreement I'd have with them, even if it was a very small thing, was chalked up to, oh, this is another black woman, it's just typical. Like, if he told me he was going to meet me at 4 o'clock and he shows up at 4:20 or 4:30 and I ask him, why are you late? They act like you don't have a right to ask. And you kind of get this vibe off of them like, well, you should be glad I showed up anyway. And a lot of these young black guys have this mentality that black men have options and black women don't. So whenever they give a black woman their time, she better jump on it. She better not have no opinions about nothing. Because I ain't got to put up with this. I can go get me an Asian chick and she ain't going to say nothing. Now, if a guy is taking that attitude with me, am I not supposed to be upset about that? That's not supposed to piss me off? And if you say, no, I'm not supposed to be upset, then that's just typical. We're supposed to just take whatever you guys dish out, and if we complain or dare to open our mouths, we get put in the belligerent category. Then it's, see, I knew it was going to pop off. This is just what black women do. And also, a lot of them expect us to take whatever they give us because they've got options and we don't. Now, just to further clear something up, the black guys who are on my level and a little bit below, they didn't have this attitude. Or most of them didn't. A few of them did, but most of them didn't. Another thing I'll say is that not all of the black guys who were slightly above my level had that attitude. There was just a high percentage of them that did. Another thing to clear up, the men who did have this attitude, I wouldn't say that they were assholes or being rude, but they were just extremely arrogant, and they just had this attitude like they were doing me a favor. So anyway, Jack Doodle, that's the way it was. I'll never take that back in a million years because it's the truth. Now, if you want to say, well, that's just the black guys you dated, fine, I'll take that. But to act like I'm just trying to take a swipe at black guys for the hell of it and that like there's no truth to it, no. Now, you said something like I was taking the words of Sergeant Willie Pete and projecting it onto other black men. Actually, it's the other way around. I'm taking some of the experiences that I had with the black guys who were exceptions and projecting that onto him. He is, and I don't mean literally, those guys that I was dating. Same ego, same superiority complex. And Pete probably gonna say, well, I don't act superior to black women. A little bit you do. A little bit. Next point. Alright, Jack, you mentioned bitterness, but let's just talk about that word just for a second. There are lots of black guys that I've met here on YouTube that I talk to on Messenger, and we have very nice, civil conversations. There ain't nan black guy who can say that I've been nasty to them unless they've been nasty to me first. I treat black guys and anybody else the way they treat me. There's even a guy on here who I assume is black. I haven't been able to confirm that because he doesn't show his face, but he does make videos. His name is USB 105 or something like that, and he makes videos about black women that don't really show them in the best light. Now, of course, I don't care for his videos, but you know what? Every time he talks to me respectfully, so I respect him. Whatever issues he has with black women as a whole, he doesn't project that onto me. He has always spoken to me respectfully. And until he talks nasty to me, or I don't mean nasty, but in a disrespectful way to me, I'm going to treat him the same. That's the way I am with black guys. Whatever issues I've had with black guys in the past, I don't project that onto black guys as long as they're nice to me and they don't exhibit those same characteristics. That would be bitterness. When you lose the ability to be able to distinguish between a good person and a bad person, they're just all the same, that's bitterness. That's jadedness and whatever else. You will not find a black guy who says I was nasty to them first, and if they are saying it, they're lying. That said, I'll readily admit, the minute a black guy starts to exhibit that same kind of smugness, superiority attitude, it dredges up all those old memories. Is that bitterness? No. That's called having a memory. That's called learning from past experiences. But anyway, I'll say this. I don't mean to make it sound like it's all young black guys, because it's not. But you have to remember that I was responding to a video by Sergeant Willie Pete, which he brought my name up in. And he was specifically talking to me. So I was responding to him, and he does exhibit some of those characteristics that I don't like. Now, Jack, you kept kind of hinting that, well, maybe it's just you. Alright, fine. And then I responded by saying, well, why don't you ask some of these other young black women? I talk to black women my age and younger all the time, and one recurrent theme seems to be what is up with these young black guys and their swollen heads. I'm not saying they're calling me bitch and hoe. I'm not saying they're even being directly rude. It's just an arrogance and this superiority thing that they got going on. All of them? Well, of course not, but enough of them to notice that it's a recurring theme. And black men love to say, well, if black men in this country and that country are saying that black women have bad attitudes, there must be something to it. Well, if a lot of black women keep saying the same thing about you guys, then there must be something to it. And again, Jack, I'm talking about guys around my age and younger. So you may not be included in Colin Powell and Bill Cosby, but a lot of these young black guys out here are unjustifiably conceited. So before you call me out on being bitter or just making up shit, why don't you ask other women? Alright, next accusation, you're bitter or upset that black guys didn't pick you, or at least the ones you wanted. I think that would be a more appropriate accusation for a black woman who had almost exclusively dated black guys. But I'm just as happy to be the wife of an Asian engineer as I would be a black engineer. The race doesn't do anything for me. It's the position I want. Your accusation would also make sense if I were still single, but I am not. There is no reason for me to be upset that black guys didn't pick me. Again, I wanted a husband of a certain level. Race didn't matter to me. The only thing a black guy can do for me that other races of men can't is give me black children. And as far as how I feel about that, any children that come out of my body will be mine, even if they don't look exactly like me racially. So what is it exactly I have to be upset about? Any quote-unquote negative reaction I'm having to black guys has to do with the smugness. But black guys who are nice to me and don't exhibit that smugness, I'm nice to them. And there are even some black guys on here who I would have been interested in. They were the upper echelon I was looking for, and they're with non-black women. I'm not upset with them. I don't try to find something to attack them with. As long as they're nice to me, I'm nice to them. I'll actually give one of those guys a shout out. That guy Exactly. He sounds like a black guy I would have been interested in, and he's with an Asian woman. I'm not mad at him. He talks nice to me. I talk nice to him. Another one, I'm not sure if he's single or not, or even if his girl is non-black, but SWP Disciple. That sounds like a black guy I would have been interested in. Actually, I'm not even sure what his job is, but he sounds like a nice guy, I'll say that. And for those of you who are saying, well, why are you worried about what his job is? You're materialistic. I said I want a man who can afford me the chance to stay home with my children, okay? You have to make a certain income for that to be possible. So skip it. In fact, one of my aunts, who was married to a black guy, was able to stay home with her kids. I just want to be like her. Let me see. Anybody else? Sergeant Willie Pete? No, because see, his head wouldn't be able to fit into our house, so I wouldn't really be able to date him so much as not. Alright, next thing. You brought up the point that, well, most black men are with black women, so what are you talking about? Well, first of all, I'm not talking about black men being with other races of women. This is not a complaint about black men dating outside the race. Again, I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm already married. And yes, most black men are married to black women, and I think it will always be that way. But that does not address the arrogant attitude that a lot of these young black guys have. Because the thing that they like to use against you is, I have the option to go out, so you need to act this way or that way. You need to bow down. I'm doing you a favor. So even though at least it looks like statistically most of these young black men will settle down with black women, we still have to deal with this attitude. And the attitude is what I'm talking about. And just a little side note, and this again still is not a criticism of black men dating outside the race, just for your information, in 2008 almost 1/4 of black men who got married non-black women. That's the highest it's ever been, and it's quite a big jump from years past. That just lets you know that we're coming up on a different era. Again, I'm confident that most black women will always have most black men, but we're not dealing with your grandfather's generation of black men anymore. A lot of racial boundaries have fallen down. Now, one more thing about this attitude that young black guys tend to have. Again, Jack Doodle, I challenge you to ask young black women about this. But anyway, based on the attitude that some of these guys have, I can understand why black women, when they get with a non-black man, yes, they flaunt it. And it's not necessarily because they're trying to worship white men or hype them up. It's just a reaction to the arrogance from black guys. It's a reaction to the attitude, oh, we have options, but you don't. Now, I'm not saying I agree with the flaunting. I'm just saying I understand. Kind of like what Chris Rock said about OJ killing Nicole. That ain't funny. I'm sorry. Another thing is that I noticed that sometimes some black guys can be kind of careless about how they talk about black women's issues, like issues with their hair or, standard of beauty stuff. They seem to be kind of careless. I know they're going to say, oh, well, you're careless about our issues. Okay, fine. Touche. But it is what it is. If I do sound upset, it's more a reaction to stuff like that, not that they didn't pick me. Now, I too have run out of space, and I haven't answered all your questions, so I'm going to have to make another video. Peace out.
All right, you guys. That was You Heard Me First Time. Her video production called The Kanye West Syndrome. Now, she made this a while back, and I know that there are other black women who kind of touched on the same subjects. Basically, she's saying the same thing as I'm saying. I notice, and I know it's not just black men who do this, but what I am talking about is just black men, because that tends to be all I date, and that tends to be who I would like to date in the future, if the Lord says the same, or if, you know, that's what is meant for me to have. So that's kind of like why I shined the light on the issue, and that's why I was like, maybe that's why a lot of other black women feel as if black men act like they're too good, or maybe they have a stick up their asses, or maybe they're just jerks, or maybe they're just assholes, because they don't feel as, you know, they feel like they have to prove a point with black women, because maybe in the past they might have dealt with a black woman who turned them down, or who said they were, you know, nice, but you're not what I'm looking for, etc. So now when they get into another situation, they think that they're doing a black woman a favor by going out on a date with them, or etc. But that's kind of like how I took it, you know. Get back to me, and hopefully that clears up a lot of, you know, the misconceptions that a lot of people had about my video, and hopefully everybody gets it now. All right. I would like to see some of your responses. I've already responded back to some people. Sometimes I'm not doing a good job by responding back to some people, but there's been so many comments that I don't get to them all. But I would like to hear your guys' feedback, and do you guys understand where I'm coming from now or not? All right, out.